Hi Turnip, so today I'm showing you guys how to make the tart for the egg tarts. It's so easy, but it's a very long video, so I decided to cut this video into two, where I'll show you guys how to make the tart here, and I'll show you guys how to make the filling in the second video. So stay tuned, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. So starting out with our measurements and ingredients, they have been posted in the description box down below, so you guys can check that out. And we are going to cut our butter into small pieces, and it's very important that your butter is in room temperature so that it's easier to combine, but it should not be melted because that would change the texture. Next, we will combine our sifted all-purpose flour and add that and try to mash it up. If you guys have a potato masher, that would be really convenient. If you guys have a KitchenAid need a hook, you guys can use that to knead it. But since I don't, I'm just going to do the old-fashioned way. So a pro tip is that you guys definitely want to flour your hands and flour the board before you guys start kneading, because you guys do not want any of your batter to stick onto the board or onto your hands. And also another pro tip for you guys is that I definitely recommend you guys cut your nails before you guys start kneading, because you guys do not want your butter and your flour to get stuck in between your nails. So one of the reasons why we want to knead is because when you guys are using a mixer, it does not combine well evenly with your butter and your flour. So to ensure that we have an even texture, we are going to have to knead it, or you guys can use a dough hook as I mentioned earlier in the KitchenAid series. And once you see that it's a relatively even texture and there's no like spotted looks of butter and flour and it looks really balanced and even, we are going to fold it once more just to double check, and we are going to flour it before we put it in a saran wrap and put it in the fridge for 20 minutes. And that is also to let the butter to firm up a bit so that it'll be easier for us to proceed onto our dirt step, which I will show you guys later. And then now in the meantime, we are going to proceed onto our second step. So next we are going to create our flour dough. We just finished making our oil dough. The point of the flour dough is to create a skin so that it can create many layers, very similar to a croissant. And just like with all dry ingredients, we are going to sift it, and instead of cornstarch, which is the recommended product to use, I'm using tapioca flour, and it's used as a thickener, so it works either way. And we are just going to sift that as well. So next we are going to add in our eggs. And of course here's some water. We are just going to whisk it so that the liquid ingredients are well combined, and then we are going to slowly add in our dry ingredients that we have created earlier. And it's important that you guys add it bit by bit instead of all at once so that it's evenly incorporated throughout. And once it starts to get very clumpy, we are going to use a spatula just to fold in the remaining parts, and just try to spread it out so that it incorporates as much flour as possible, and we are going to knead it as well. And of course, kneading this part is supposed to be easier because there's less liquid and there's more flour, so it's relatively dry and it's easier to knead such a small amount. And once it is well combined, we are going to put it in a saran wrap and put it in the fridge for 10 minutes. For those who are wondering why we're using saran wraps and putting it in the fridge, it is because the fridge sucks out a lot of moisture from your dough, so you guys want a very soft dough instead of a very crusty and dry dough. So now that that's done, we are going to sprinkle some more flour on our surface, and then we are going to take out our flour dough and we are going to knead it until it's relatively thin. So a really good tip is definitely start from the middle, and then you guys want to roll it from top to bottom in one direction, and then you guys are going to roll it from right to left. So after rolling for a bit, I realized that it's much easier to start from the middle of each respective directions because it's so much easier, and there's usually a lot more dough in the middle. So once it looks relatively nice and even, it doesn't have to be perfect. It does not have to be a perfect rectangle. We are going to place our Oreo dough in the middle, and it's pretty hard, and we are just going to cover it. Even though it does not need to be perfect, every part of the Oreo dough must be covered by your dry dough because that will create the beautiful layers. And next we are going to flour our surface, and we are going to roll out the dough. Just like making croissants, it is usually recommended that you guys put it back in the fridge, let it firm up before you guys start rolling. But since it's in the winter here and I did not turn on the heat, it's relatively really cold. So I'm just going to continue it, and then I'm just going to roll it out. But if at any point you guys feel like the dough is too soft, too mushy, too wet, that's when it's a good indicator that you should definitely put it back in the fridge and let it firm. And usually they recommend to let it firm for at least like 20 to 30 minutes intervals, but since it's really cold here, I'm just going to do as quickly as possible just to avoid putting it back in the fridge. And as you can see, the Oreo dough is relatively hard, and you guys can see the lines, and the dry dough has been doing pretty well because it has incorporated and spread out without breaking, so that's a really good dough. And we are just going to continue kneading into different directions and fold it. And something I recommend you to do is in between each fold, definitely sprinkle some flour just to create even more layers. And that is how you usually make croissants and beautiful flaky egg tart. So once I roll it out that way, I'm just going to fold it perpendicular so that it creates more layer, and try to make it as even as possible. The even the better. As you guys can see, it looks really nice and it's very smooth. And it definitely smooths out because the butter is getting warmed up, and that's when you guys know that it's also creating lots of beautiful butter layers. And we are going to fold it for a total of 4 times, just so that you guys have a lot of layers introduced into your egg tarts. And I am going to leave this in fast motion because I want you guys to see the whole entire process, especially for those who have never baked before or have never kneaded before. I think this is a really good way for you guys to see it visually. And for those who think that they have all the steps down, you guys can skip this part and move on to the next step. So after letting it sit in the fridge for at least an hour, I'm going to take it out and I'm going to roll it flat. And we are going to roll it out to, it is 0.75 cm in thickness, and then we are going to use a cookie cutter. Since I don't have a cookie cutter, I'm going to use my measuring cup to cut it out. And a really important thing I must tell you at this point is that you guys have a flour cookie cutter where it has a lot of like some nice small little circle ridges. Use that one over this circular cookie cutter because it would definitely create more surface area and it will cause your egg tart to puff up even more. And that is usually why egg tarts always come in like a flowery shape instead of a circular shape. But since you guys don't have the circle cookie cutter like I do, you guys can use that as substitute. And you don't want it to be too thick or too thin, but you guys just want it to be in the right size. So we are going to place these in the fridge for at least another half hour before using them. And of course we are going to have to use the egg tart molds to create the shape, and you guys can get these from Amazon. They have served me pretty well and I've been using them for half a year and I really like them. And if someone mentions in the comments where to get them, I can definitely post a link in the description box down below. And now that they're all lined up, we are going to put our mold and our dough together, and we are going to pinch the sides just to even it out, and we can press at the bottom. And you guys want to have enough thickness where it's not too thick where you guys don't taste any of the filling, or it's too thin where it collapses on itself. So you guys wanted to see those ridges, and that's when you guys know it's beautiful. Unfortunately, there's too much background noises, but when I cut into the crust, you guys could definitely hear the crunch, and it's so flaky and so crispy that it's so amazing. And as you guys can see, it's definitely important that you guys make your dough where it's thick enough, but it's not too thin, and there's enough space for a lot of the egg tart filling, because that's the highlight of the egg tarts. And I think it's really nice, and it holds really well, and you guys can see the flaky layers in between. Too bad that I don't have a beautiful the egg tart cutters, but I definitely would invest in one if you guys are planning to make a lot of these. It tastes amazing. And if you guys look closely over here, you guys can see that there's a lot of layers compacted into that egg tart. Hey Turners, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this easy recipe on how to make the egg tart crust. It is very delicious, and I definitely recommend this over any other crust, especially the cookie crust. Even though it's not as flaky as I would have liked, I think that the cutter is definitely the most important part. So you guys have that, definitely recommend you guys use it or get it. And this video is a little bit longer than usual, but I think it's worth it because I'm going to show you guys every bit of the way, and I think that it's very important that you guys see it visually. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you guys haven't done so, because I'll be posting how to make the egg tart filling very shortly. So stay tuned, and see you guys next time. Bye!